this is the map, more or less, of the Holy Republic, with all of the, what is it, 10 provinces? I think 10. You might want to count and see if I can count correctly. All that's labeled on this map for right now are the province boundaries, and their like house seats. Some of which are cities, some of which are only castles or keeps, and some of which are basically just geographical features where nobody actually lives. The start of the campaign, at least, because I'm going to drag you guys maybe all over this map. We'll have to see how it goes. But the start of the campaign will be in the biggest city in the Holy Republic, which is the Holy City of Brennane, which is the house seat for the central province of Gran Ferdisco.
Yep.
These are all provinces? We don't have any, like, one to our south is not a neighboring country. Those are all off the map?
Those are all off the map, yes. There are neighboring countries in every direction, except for east, because east is the ocean. And not all of the provinces are shown on this map either. For example, the actual outer boundaries of Velumor and Werowet are very murky because they're out in places where nobody lives and nobody can settle. Werowet is just a vast, impenetrable desert, and Velumor is a deeply unseelie forest where only the outer fringes have been settled and exploited. But there are safe paths through that forest to the countries on the other side. All right, let's open immigrant.com here, and I will introduce you people to your family.
Is our family the friends we made along the way?
No, your family is your actual family.
Listen, Perkra, that hasn't been the case for any of your previous campaigns.
So this is the Veritas family tree going back 3 generations. There are other there are other branches of House Veritas, but they are not as prominent or as important because the ruling branch of House Veritas is the one we're looking at. So your great-grandfather was Lugrin Veritas. For some reason, I saved this as a JPEG and not a ping. You're just going to have to deal with it. Nothing I can do about it now. And also,
sunglasses already coming in handy.
I was not told that Victor had a sister until after I had already made the whole family tree, so I just wrote her in here.
That's fine.
So here's the deal. 3 generations ago, Lugrin Veritas was the House Patriarch. Up until about a little over 10 years ago, his son, Denny Veritas, was the Lord of the House. And he did a bad job. Denny did 3 things wrong that no good House Lord should ever do to their people. The first thing is, for his first wife, Denny's over here. His first wife, he took a woman named Alexis Snowbell. The Snowbells are a very small house in South Warren. They have very small lands, but instead of marrying somebody properly, Denny decided to marry this beautiful woman from a much, much smaller house who was already a widow and already had a son. Her son's name is Valeri, and Valeri kept his father's name, Viewpont. And then Denny had 2 more children, both girls, with Alexis. So there was already some question of succession. Like, is he going to legitimize his stepson from her former husband? Well, eventually his wife died and he remarried a much, much higher born woman named Anna de Mars and had a son by her named Nicholas, who eventually had a son of his own, whom was also named Denny. So now there's more succession problems. Because
Can I ask a quick point of order?
Yeah.
I was under the impression that due to the magical inherent powers of house members that there wouldn't be a question of succession if someone was only married into the family?
Basically, yes, but sometimes no.
Okay, got it. Great.
In this
Facebook
case, in the
status
case
is
with
complicated.
in the case with Valeri, it would have been like House Viewpont or maybe House Snowbell would have tried to press a claim.
Sure, got it. Okay, just checking.
So that's the first thing that Denny did wrong. Is he married way beneath his station to a woman that already had children, and then eventually married somebody much higher, and then had another child by her. So there's succession issues with Denny's children. The second thing that Denny did wrong, if we go all the way to the other side of the family tree, the furthest away from the actual ruling branch over here, we find Edmont and Ekon, your aunts, Orudis, had a child named Spencer, never revealed who the father was. She never married. She's an old maid. And so her child was not a member of House Veritas. They were never legitimized because she wouldn't reveal who the father was, bastard born. And then her child married a common woman from no particular house because he had nothing to lose. Well, good old Denny, from his deathbed, a little over 10 years ago, decided to go ahead and legitimize Spencer and his wife and their son, Yanis. For no reason other than he was fond of Yanis. This doesn't create problems as far as succession is concerned because they're so far away from the line of succession anyway. It's just the kind of thing that isn't done, and it caused a lot of criticism both inside and outside the family. The third thing that Denny did wrong is at the moment he died, he didn't name an heir. So there were two claims being pressed, one from his daughter Anfred, and then one from his son Niklas by another woman. Anfred had the better claim because she's the eldest born to Denny. But Niklas at that time already had his own son who is 10 or 12 years old. He's about your guys' age, in his early 20s or so. Whereas Anfred's son was a sickly man, and over the course of a winter, the medics said he might not survive the winter. So very quickly and kind of surreptitiously, she had him married and saw that his wife got pregnant. And then she gave birth to a very sickly child who was Nilbert. So her lineage is not as strong as Nicholas's. However, after Denny died, Anfred started whipping the house back into shape. She got herself elected governor. And her cousin Nigel is being sent off to Brennane in order to serve the house's interests as speaker. So Nigel's household is in the center here. Nigel had 9 children. One of them died. Everybody with a green check mark is coming with you to Brennane. So Nigel's lady mother, the Dowager Feza, is coming with you. All of Nigel's living children are going. Valeri Viewpont is an interesting character because he never had any pretenses to rule. He always liked adventuring, and he's been one of Nigel's most steadfast companions over the course of his adventuring life. However, Valeri has gone on some disastrous expeditions. One of them was almost 20 or so years ago now, where he went off with a few of his companions, as well as Victor's parents, and he was the only survivor of that expedition. And there's always been murmurings about what actually happened. Valeri's is the only version of the story that anybody's heard. He's the only one that survived. It was a great tragedy. Nigel did right by his sister by bringing Victor in and raising him in his own household. A couple of years later, Valeri was on another expedition, this time with your guys' older brother, Nathaniel. And on this expedition, Nathaniel died. It was another disaster. Valeri came back, one of the few survivors, and again, his account is the only account of what might have happened on that expedition.
So he's cursed.
He's
Awesome.
basically cursed.
So just to clarify, so Valeri was on the expedition with Victor's parents when they died.
Yes. He's the only survivor of that expedition.
And with our older brother who has also died.
That was a separate expedition.
Yeah, but it was In 2 separate expeditions, family members have died who were with him, and he was the only survivor or one of the very few survivors.
Right.
Yes, and Victoria was also on that expedition, but she is presumed dead.
That said, Valeri is a good friend of Nigel's. He's a good friend to the house. He's probably been around your whole childhood. You look up to him like a weird uncle. He's always got fascinating stories.
We probably call him Uncle Valeri.
So Anford has decided to solve a couple of problems by naming Nigel Speaker. For one, she's insisting that Denny Veritas goes with you to be Speaker. She's doing this to get him out of the province, to make sure that he doesn't attempt to press a claim against her own grandson at a future date. She's doing this ostensibly so he can go to Brennane and learn to live at court and better serve the house, but really she's doing it because he's a competitor. The other thing she's doing is she's sending Yanis Veritas with you. Yanis is about 10 years old, so even though he's a generation beneath you guys, he's as old as some of your younger siblings are. Nigel was very prolific. He was pretty busy. And this is to just help quell the rumors from the lesser branches of the house. She wanted to keep Valeri close to her because he's such a valuable asset to have around. But he disappointed her and said, "Nerds to that, I'm going to Brennane with my good buddy Nigel." His adventuring days are probably behind him now. He's probably in his early 60s. And that's about it for your family tree. What you see is what you get. The only other thing that might be of note, and I gave you guys the list of everybody coming with you, I think. You have that document.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nigel's wife, Eleanor, died 3 years ago when she gave birth to your brother, Arlo. It was a very difficult pregnancy, and it strained them both badly. And Arlo's leg is twisted. He walks with a crutch. And the doctors at the time told her, like, another pregnancy is going to be very, very traumatic. And in fact, it was. Her next pregnancy is the one she didn't survive.
So Arlo's like 5, 6?
Let me pull up their ages here.
You see, Arlo is at 7,
Okay.
and Lorcan at 3.
Oh, I see. Yep.
So Ruby is the oldest at 23, and then Lorcan is 3.
So Lorcan's the one that, not Arlo.
Arlo, Weekadur, and then Lorcan.
Oh,
finished
I
off.
got you. So it was a
Arlo is
1-2
basically
punch.
Tiny Tim. He's
Yes.
super optimistic. He loves everything and everyone, but people pity him because he walks around with a crutch.
I can make him a robot leg.
You realize you have to remove his actual leg for that to work, right?
I'm just waiting for the inevitable accident.
Just leave him alone with Uncle Valeri for a few moments.
Just like Eugenia's just been watching Arlo for the last 7 years, just waiting for him to have to yeah. Well, it looks like we gotta amputate.
Oh darn! Gotta amputate.
So I only have one other question. Do the older brother who has died, do we know anything about what he was like?
He was older than you.
I mean, like, what kind of person was he?
Human person.
Okay.
With,
How long ago did he die?
with skin and hair. Well, let's see.
So Victor lost his parents when he was 15, so like 7 years ago.
The next sibling under Nathaniel is 20 years old. And he would have been too young to go on an expedition with Nathaniel at the time. So it was within living memory for sure.
Let's say 7 years ago.
Yeah, he didn't die before all of you were born. You all grew up and loved Nathaniel dearly, and then Valeri killed him by taking him into the beaver den or something.
The rabbit den.
They needed Guy. Guy speaks beaver.
So there are a couple of house names you'll see here that have married into your house over the years that are relevant to you. The first you might see is House Blacken. In fact, this is would be called the Blacken branch of House Veritas, because your great-grandfather married a Blacken. House Blacken is one of the largest houses in South Warren. Their magic is to do with a lot of illusory entertainment. They do like puppet shows and pyrotechnics and things.
Fun.
Theater troops. And they also do things with the dissolution of illusion magic. They're able to find things that are not real or are magically shrouded and reveal them for what they are. They have no official title in Brennane, but they did own a manor house there and some land, which they lost. And so when you guys arrive at Brennane, their manor house is going to be the one that you will inhabit. It's in a pretty sore state. The last survivor of House Blacken, who is now abandoning Brennane to move back to South Warren, has gifted you this house, or gifted Nigel this house as a token of the friendship between your two houses. But the house itself is partially derelict. Lord Durbus had only been using one wing of it, so a lot of work is going to have to be done. The benefit is there's no expense as far as you have to invest in finding property in Brennane. That was something that was completely sidestepped. This deal was probably brokered with Lady Anfred beforehand. And I think the Blackens actually married into this house in two places.
Yeah, there are parents. Our mom maybe was a Blacken? Am I reading that right? Our dad?
Yeah, your dad was a Blacken.
Yeah.
So nowadays, when they talk about the Blacken branch of House Veritas, they're talking about Edmont's and Ekon's family. So this also shows you guys who is first in the order of succession if Anfred's entire wing of the house gets wiped out and it actually comes down to you. Probably Evelyn and Jeannie are going to have to fight to the death.
Can we skip that part?
I think I could picture how that exactly. We have to fight to the death for succession. Eugenia was like, just leave me alone, go away.
Okay, so both of you abdicate, and then it comes to Victor next.
Sounds good to me.
But a lot of people have to die for that to happen. You've got a lot
Right.
of house to get through.
It's like that show with Kiefer Sutherland, the designated survivor. That's Victor.
So I have a question about house magic. If someone marries into our house, do they use their own native house magic, or are they expected to start using our house magic?
They can learn it if they've got spellcasting traits from other classes. It's not impossible to learn your house magic.
Okay, but if someone from another house were to marry in theirs, they would have access to the spells casting of their house.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
So in that way, magic using between houses is intermingled quite a lot over the years. Which is why at higher levels of noble, if you go up to, I think, level 11, you start learning magic from other houses. All right, I'm going to go back to the big map now.
We're good. Can't help but notice that you just kind of glossed over, an aunt of myself and Ekon,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Aunt Tessa. What is the deal with her children and grandchildren?
No idea what you're talking about.
I just saw that.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I also noticed that.
I wasn't going to let it go.
I mean, Razu's on here somewhere. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, your cousin Adric and your cousin once removed, Serenity, are both laid to rest.
I see. I see.
All right, so just to give you guys a sense of who the other major houses currently are in Brennane. These are the people who are largely going to be at court. These are the people calling the shots. These are the people running things in the Holy City, ostensibly for the benefit of their provinces. So the first one on my list is House Veritas of South Warren. I think you all are familiar with them.
Never heard of them.
So along the eastern coast, over here is the province of Gosalthan. Gosalthan is run by House Balk. And House Balk, their magic is attached to machinery, reliquary knowledge, and shipbuilding. House Balk runs a guild hall, which is the guild hall that Jeannie graduated from. They're basically a house of artificers, and their wealth comes largely from them being the best shipwrights in the Republic. They're one of your allies in Brennane. They are strongly allied with House Veritas, and they've actually married into your family at some important points. The main house in Brennane itself, for the province of Gran Fernisco, is House Oleander. House Oleander's magic is involved with healing, medicine, and funerary rites. They currently hold the positions of High Speaker. The High Speaker is the speaker in Brennane for the province of Gran Fernisco. That's just something that's codified into law. And they hold the title of High Aethar, who is the head of the church. We just talked about House Blacken. They have no official title in Brennane. They're not a speaker or anything. That's you guys. But they did have a presence in the city for many, many years. And the last surviving member of House Blacken in Brennane is leaving to go back to South Warren as an old man and leaving you his house. There is House Hines. House Hines has no official designation in Brennane because they are the house that lost North Warren. North Warren was once a prosperous mining province, but it became overrun with monsters and other grisly things, and it's been impossible to settle ever since. But their house still has some level of wealth, and they live now as an exile house. House Hines is also married into Veritas at certain points. Their magic is associated with light, destruction of undead, and the containment of unseelie relics. The current lady of House Hines lives in Brennane, and she is your aunt to most of you, sister to Nigel's late wife. One of your key rival houses is House Inmotai of South Warren. They're the ones that held the title of governor and speaker that you guys just beat them out in an election, which was a great upset. Nobody saw it coming. Their deal is necromancy, skeletal servitude, and disease management. One of the strongest allies of House Idmotai is House Hardshield of Urvalia. Urvalia is the big mountainous province right in the center of the map here that almost bisects the main central province. Their magic is tied to elemental earth, mining, metallurgy, and armor smithing. And their interests are basically to stop you guys from gaining a foothold in any kind of mining rights, knowing that you also have some element of earth-moving magic, or did, as on your house spell list. There's been like 40 revisions to that spell list now.
No, we added more earth magic, so you're good.
Okay.
What is the name? Something shield? I'm
Heart
trying
shield.
to type.
Heart shield.
Okay.
So just going around to the other provinces, because these are the other just major houses in Brennane. The northernmost province is Losteria, and their house is Airdal. Their magic is associated with weather, flight, and elemental air, because the major houses of Losteria, including House Airdal, are Griffin Riders. They are the first known example of humans taming unseelie beasts and bending them to their will, the way that you would domesticate animals. So far, this has only been done with griffins, and no, you cannot be a Griffin Rider unless you are from Losteria. The third ruling member of the Triumvirate in Brennane is called the High Tradesman. The High Tradesman looks after mercantile guilds and whatnot. His job is to amass wealth for the city and put it to use, and to raise the city's military. That job is currently held by House Van Hild. House Van Hild doesn't have a lot of house magic, minor cantrips and things. Ostensibly, they say that their house magic deals a lot in pyromancy, but there's a lot of skepticism about how powerful they actually are. The current high tradesman is a man named Hrilgar, and Hrilgar is an old adventuring buddy of Uncle Nigel, which is very handy to have on your side. The westernmost province is the forest province of Velumor. It is known to be a large evil wood, and there's always whisperings and questions about people there dabbling in unseelie magic. The ruling house is House Yalara. Their magic is tied to nature, druidism, and lycanthropy. To the south is the desert of Werowet. The Republic has only settled the very northern fringes of Werowet. And in actual practice, most of the population lives either along the lake in their borders or along the river leading south out of Brennane. Their magic is tied to the stars and just weird mystic things, the vastness of space, introspective meditation, and there's also a lot of question about how much of it is actually real magic. To the southeast is the province of Mendelin. There's a long island chain that stretches out hundreds of miles into the ocean that all counts as part of the province of Mendelin. And the ruling house there is House Amberson. Their magic deals with warfare, immortality, and what they call strength of flesh. The ability to make a man's flesh as strong as armor. The reason they're so obsessed with warfare is because their southern border touches the former Holy Empire of Endelene, the place that the Holy Empire, or the Holy Church was founded, and then 300 or so years ago there was a schism. The church came to Brennane, and so they have a very tough military border to defend. The final province is Zephril Isle. Zephril Isle is kind of special because 1,000 years ago, or whenever it was, when the conqueror Fernisco united all the provinces and conquered all of the populations and brought them all under his banners, found Zephril Isle impossible to conquer. You just can't lay siege to an isle that deep into a Great Lake. They had all the resources they needed on their island, and they resisted for a very long time. This is intentionally just the story of Dorne in Westeros. Eventually, they were brought into the Republic through marriage, not conquest. Their magic deals with abjuration, defense of hearth and home, and the creation of a material called wood steel, which is exactly what it sounds like. All right, I hope Treble took a bunch of notes because we're leaving this map now.
So is it one of the classic blunders to get involved in a land war with Zephril Isle?
Yeah, more or less, because they didn't have the naval expertise to properly cross the lake. And it was impossible to lay siege to the island because the island is vast. It's the same principle as why Brennane sits upon an island in the eastern lake.
Was this city intentionally built to try to copy that impenetrable defense?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. So the seat of Zephril Isle is called Old Throne, and it's called that because it's the only throne in the Republic that was not conquered 1,000 years ago. They also have the only unbroken line dating back to those times, or so they claim. But they are the smallest and poorest of the provinces, but they're an old and proud people. So you guys have decided that your house is going to be on Dead Rabbit Way?
I can think of no more fitting place.
Okay.
I think we decided that our house iconography probably also involves rabbits.
Would you like the task of actually mapping out the manor house? The way you guys did with the barge last campaign? Because that's largely what your efforts are going to be bent to upon arrival in Brennane.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that we would typically want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's been a long journey to get here overland. You guys have, what is it, like 18 like family members coming with you, plus all of their household servants. All of you have attendants. Probably a good 50 or 60 people.
And 30 or so familiars.
And 30...
Horses,
Unfortunately, you don't have to
dogs.
feed.
You have to feed familiars? Like,
No.
No, you just dismiss them.
just dismiss them for 5 minutes and come back. I think it'd be cheaper to feed them because that's 10 gold of. To someone.
No, you don't have to. That's not dismissing into an alternate dimension doesn't require you to resummon them.
Oh,
It's
right.
just an action.
Well, I think we should claim whatever this nonsense is going here with this circular thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a fountain.
You guys can have a fountain on your property.
Yeah, like
Like,
this whole
I-
little there's like two structures around this. Well, maybe this is our compound. Maybe it's got a little
Yeah.
house over here on the side, or
Yeah.
stables or something. I don't know.
I would expect we have like a compound as opposed to like a singular manor house.
Yeah, with that many people, I'm
Yeah.
expecting like those 6 houses around the fountain.
Yeah, it might all be us. We'll have to draw a line to figure out exactly what is actually our property.
Well, however much it is, it's all in a state of disrepair, except for one wing of the manor house, who Old Man Blacken had been living in. His children have long ago moved away. His wife died many years ago. He's going back to fulfill some official purpose in Anfred's court back in South Warren, and in exchange, he's gifting the manor house to your family for use as the speaker's house in Brennane.
Well, I'm saying not that because that's the road cuts like right here.
Oh, you guys
Because
can't own the road.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't care how
That's
dead
why.
those rabbits are.
I would recommend that this building specifically, for whatever reason, not be part of our manor house, and someone is very upset about that.
That's where Old Man Blacken had put his concubine up, and she wasn't
Yep.
part of the deal.
Yep, something like that. Yeah.
Summit.
They just won't sell their land ever.
Yeah.
Just a cranky neighbor.
Yep.
So the people coming with you to Brennane, and I'm not going to get into all the servants because, you know, small folk aren't really people, but Speaker Nigel he's the main man. He's going to be speaking with the province's voice at court in Brennane. That's his job. His lady mother is coming as well. She was actually born and raised in Brennane, so she's a proper lady of Brennane who married into your family and then raised all of her children way up out there in the sticks. She did so dutifully for many years, but when her son was named speaker, she's like, you know what? I'm done with this horrible country life. Going back home, but live out the rest of my days in the city where things make sense. Her job is, if you pick up the wrong fork, she whacks your knuckles at the table.
You know what? I think that's actually a tower because it makes no sense for there to be a fountain right next to the.
Fair.
Could be a fountain, could be a tower. Whatever you want.
Could be a tower with a fountain at the base.
I like the idea of us owning a tower.
It's dilapidated by this point.
Yeah.
Right. Got to source the stone. It's going to be difficult because we're on a freaking island, which I'm assuming is man-made.
Probably not. I don't know for sure, but probably not.
I suspect some of these channels look man-made. They're very straight. looks like maybe a cluster of aisles that they added canals going through to maybe make it easier for access.
Form.
Like gondolas maybe go down these channels. I don't know.
Well, there's no bridges into Brennane. There are ferries that can access the city from the outer banks of the lake, and there are also 2 large tunnels. One coming through this gate. Where's the other one at? Maybe the other one's coming through this gate. So to the west and to the south. And these tunnels go down under the lake, and they are a prime example of just genius magical engineering. It's one of the reasons Brennane would be impossible to take from the outside, is the tunnels can be collapsed from inside the city in such a way that does not flood them, where you can go in and clear them out safely later. So it's just absolutely impossible to get into Brennane through one of the tunnels if you're like an unwanted invader. The flip side of that coin is Brennane's stores only have what they have. There's not any farmland on the island. There's no way to... I mean, you can grow things and raise livestock in the city, but not enough to feed the entire city for long lengths of time. It's theoretically possible to lay siege to the city. It has not been successfully done in 1,000 years, however.
That's not ominous at all.
Yeah. Not like we're going to be doing that at all, ever.
I think your next invention needs to be some floating farmland.
Or maybe a siege engine.
Invent something you can grow at the bottom of a canal, like a food.
Just like seaweed.
Everybody eats
Turbo
trout
kelp.
burgers.
Turbo kelp.
So people are pretty evenly split amongst your party of people who are excited to come to Brennane and people who are not. We mentioned your distant cousin Denny. He was ordered to go by the lady of the house. He doesn't want to because he sees himself as the ruler of the house, is in line of succession. He doesn't think his sickly cousin is going to survive much longer. Also, he's a bit of a bully, and he's probably spent all of your childhoods bullying all of you.
This is Edmont's first time in the city, and so he's kind of wide-eyed about the whole thing.
Your other distant cousin, less distant to Edmont and Ekon, Giannis. He's looking forward to coming to the city because his branch of the family was legitimized. He was bastard born, but at age 2 or so, he received his house name. And so he's kind of got his chip on his shoulder about it. Like, he's got something to prove to everybody that he's a real noble, he's a real member of the house.
So this was like his first time at court, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta make my name known."
Well, he's been to court in South Warren. This will be his first time at court in Brennane.
Well, this is like the big boys' court.
That's exactly his... Like, he's never going to have high standing in Brennane. In another generation or two, his branch of the house is going to be ousted, essentially. They'll be too far away from the succession. But if he can make a name for himself here at court... So he has lofty ambitions. He's only 12.
Give him time, give him time. 12 is probably an adult in this world.
So the younger siblings of Nigel, you have Orson, who everybody says is just the very picture of Nigel himself. Of course, everybody said that about Nathaniel as well, and he died. He's 15, so he's a little bit younger than the twins. Tenny is a kind of strange and sensitive girl. She doesn't have any friends. Very, very emotional. She absolutely did not want to come to Brennane. She's been weepy and sullen the entire journey, keeping to herself, skipping meals. It's been impossible to have a conversation with her. Very pouty, very immature. Her younger brother, Arlo, he sees this as a grand adventure. He's the one who walks with a crutch. Mm-hmm. He's been super excited the whole trip. And he's the only member of the house, when he saw the state of the manor on Dead Rabbit Way, who spoke to its possibilities rather than its current borderline inhabitable state. There's no way you can put up your entire party here right now. So the first day upon arrival, a lot of servants have split off to try to obtain lodgings elsewhere in the city for now until construction can get underway on the manor. So let's start there.
Ekon is going to insist that he, his brother, and their retainers go and get lodging at the main church until we can properly refinish the temple and our quarters here.
So the
Mont is not happy about this idea.
The cathedral in Brennane would be up here. On the
Do
north
they
side.
have lodging for, like, acolytes?
Oh, yeah, of course. There's this
Yeah.
whole open courtyard area that serves as a city commons, and there is Ekon as... Is it Ekon or Ekon?
Ekon.
Ekon, okay. So, Ekon is an actual ordained member of the faith. You could turn up and just be given a cell in the cathedral.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say befitting your station, we understand that your station is basically nothing. You're not quite the dregs, because the dregs are like mindless servants of the house or of the church. But they do have some obligation to you. Probably not to your sibling.
Okay.
So he gets like a room with a bed and a picture of a crystal tower, and that's it.
Yeah, basically. But there's no shortage of inns and hostels of all different quality and variety in this same area. You can actually see that the area with the Grand Cathedral and the Colosseum and House Oleander's Manor. This is all walled in. This is the original castle built on the island when Brennane was first founded. So no, you have no difficulty at all establishing lodgings in that area of the city. So let me go down the table here. And it's going to take me probably 2 sessions to get acclimated to everybody's name. Starting with Jeannie, because Jeannie's just at the top of my list. What does Jeannie see her primary job as when it comes to establishing this manor and getting it up and running?
Foremanning the repairs.
So what do you mean, like, foremanning the repairs? Like standing around barking orders to people?
Well, like, kind of, oh crap. What is the, not necessarily, like she's going to assist, which not necessarily, like, just barking orders, but, like, kind of, helping to oversee the repairs and, making sure that the facilities, at least making sure the non-house facilities are up to snuff, I guess.
Okay.
Like, because it's going to be like, this is too big for like one group of people, but like Eugenia has like volunteered to be part of the like, we'll take care of like the workshops and things like that on the premises to make sure that they're up to snuff. So like, maybe, I don't know, like the tower is full of workshops.
Okay. Well, if you hadn't volunteered, I mean, your sister would have given you a task.
Valen told you.
I mean, this is expectation.
Right.
Okay. So you're doing what's expected of you then. Edmont, same question. What does Edmont see as his job as far as establishing and maintaining this manor in the first couple of days?
Procuring supplies for building. Construction supplies.
Okay.
Arranging for that kind of stuff.
Eugenia just hands you a list. It's got all kinds of random, like, we need like 40. We need like
We need walls, and we need doors, and we need locks.
like that's what
Everything
like,
else can come. Everything else can come when
There's like-
the.
There's like things like beakers and
Yeah, no, yeah. Edmont is like partitioning this list off into needs and would be nice to have, and then Eugenia's stuff.
yeah. I was about to say like things we need and things Eugenia wants.
So Victor, same question. What does Victor see his job as far as establishing the manor and getting it livable again?
So Victor is in charge of both the security of the site, because as someone who does archaeology, like he wants to make sure blocks aren't going to fall on people, and also the physical security to make sure nobody can sneak in.
And what about Evie?
Is anyone like taking charge and organizing?
Your sister Ruby is.
Okay, I guess I'm going to go to Ruby and ask her what she wants me to do.
She needs somebody to get all of these goddamn animals under control. You guys have horses, and you guys have dogs, and lots of the children have pets that they've found along the road. They're like cats. Like, these animals need to be put somewhere where they're going to be safe. You guys have brought some livestock with you. She was expecting to get here and find a place where, like, you'd have kennels set up and a stables, and you don't have any of that.
Okay, so what Evie is going to... Sorry?
I was going to say, suggesting that, I mean, I would be absolutely down to help to do that, and you work on procuring supplies, because animal handling is kind of my thing.
If you would prefer to do that, okay, we can delegate. Evie can go to you and say, we need to get these animals under control. I'll take care of whatever you were going to do, because that is your skill set.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
and Evie can start canvassing the town to figure out, like, where the places to get the supplies we need are. Like, where the markets...
Do not let anybody in Brennane hear you refer to it as a town. This is the holy city.
Okay, the capital, the greatest city that has ever citied. Yes,
No.
that is where we are.
Specifically the title, Holy City of Brennane.
Holy City of Brennane. Okay, where in the Holy City of Brennane are the good places to get supplies?
Okay.
Secure building supplies, or if we need to find additional workers, which I think we probably have enough entourage that we probably don't need additional help. But Evie can absolutely start...
You guys will probably outsource a couple of specialists here and there, but I mean, you have all of the muscle on hand you're probably going to need.
Okay, so Evie's going to start making her rounds to find all the good places in the Holy City of Brennane.
Don't say it sarcastically like that.
The Holy City of Brennane. She makes whatever the gesture of, devotion is in this church.
So just make sure that Evie also makes sure the holy toilets of Rabbit Way work.
So what about Ekon?
Ekon has 3 goals that he'd like to work on.
Okay.
One, he would like to get a rough idea of what the state of the temple or shrine on the property is and start focusing on making sure that's properly consecrated, make sure that basically that's going to be his house project, like his pet project. The second part
as far as that's concerned, most houses don't maintain a temple on their own property. Some of the very old ones do. House Blacken did not. So you would be establishing a temple.
Yep, then Ekon will absolutely start by finding the least essential building and trying to get it converted into a temple.
Okay.
Quick question related to that.
Second...
Ekon, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So in terms of like house relics and stuff, are we bringing house relics with us?
Oh, yes. You have all that with you.
Okay, so we need a place to actually store those that's safe and secure.
On that note, the second part he wants to do is convert the second floor of the temple to an area that is amiable to ritual casting and to housing familiars and to storing that sort of thing, like not really magical items, like focuses and whatnot. And the final thing he'd like to do is use his familiar and whatever connections he can make to secure stone, because while everything else, I think, won't be a problem, in the middle of a big goddamn lake, I feel like stone to rebuild or refinish this tower is going to be the hardest thing to source.
This city must have a place you can acquire that, or they must have a store of it.
There would be quarries out of fields, but they have to
we're probably going to have to bring cartloads in through the tunnels, is my guess.
So it's not difficult, but definitely expensive.
Yeah, so and if someone wants to take over that stone job, like that was just something I think
that's my job.
Okay, you go for that. I'll work on getting this temple and the spellcasting area into up to snuff.
Okay. Yeah, and one of Victor's primary goals is to make sure that where the relics are housed is incredibly secure.
We could put them on the top floor of the tower.
Well, there would already be a fairly intact vault in one of the cellars, because House Blacken would have also had house relics. Not as many as you guys have, likely, but Yeah, there's a safe area already intact. One wing of the manor house is still in really good shape. That's where the old man Blacken was living. And so, yeah, exploring the cellars underneath, there is a pretty decent-sized vault.
So Victor is going to make sure that vault is still secure, and if there's a way to secure it even more.
Oh, yeah, Lord Blacken, before he departs, shows Nigel how to open the vault. There's literally a large brass turn wheel on the front of it that has to be turned in a specific way and in a specific manner. And then even then, it takes a fair amount of strength to pull the metal door out of the stone wall and open it up.
And is there a way to change that combination so that House Blacken can't come back and pilfer our stores?
No, it was constructed in this specific way. You need to hire somebody to come down and reconstruct the front of the vault, which Nigel has no intention of doing.
I mean, no offense, cousin, but House Blacken is literally, your aunt.
You can never be too safe.
You come to find out over the course of a couple of days that Ruby has also gotten wind that Nigel has shown cousin Victor how to open this vault, and she's not pleased. This is supposed to be a secret for, the heads of household to have and for their immediate heirs. And the fact that Victor and gods know who else her father has run off and shown how to open this vault. Anybody who in the family who wants to know how to get into the vault knows how. Because Nigel trusts you all implicitly, and he can never conceive of anybody backstabbing him. And anyway, the stuff in there is just stuff, and there's always more ruins to plumb and more adventures to go on.
So does Valeri know how to open the vault?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh God, we're doomed.
He's one of Nigel's oldest and most trusted friends. Okay. So JD's acting as kind of foreman, overseeing repairs as they happen. Edmont, you're finding a way to control the animals.
Yep.
Are you looking to do that here on site at the manor in one of the buildings for now?
That would probably be best.
Okay.
Get the animals acclimated to the area.
Evie is out procuring supplies. Edmund, go ahead and give me an animal handling check, please.
Sure thing.
And just tell me the number. And Evie, go ahead and give me a charisma check, please. Straight charisma.
First roll of the game. 18.
And how did Evie do on charisma?
Not well.
What number?
4.
Oh.
This is
Good
a
thing I
4
dodged that bullet.
Ekon, give me a religion check, please.
You got it. That would be a 13, I believe. Yeah, 13.
Okay, so Victor, there is a fence around the perimeter of the estate. Part of your estate is this house that doesn't belong to you, that belongs to Lord Blacken's concubine that he had put up there. And she's also very old at this point. She's in her 60s. She was his mistress back when he was still married and raising children here. And so just out of affection for her, he's letting her keep her house. But you can imagine there already is a perimeter fence around the whole manor. It's not actually meant for security. There is an iron wrought gate that people enter and exit through, and then a larger one on the periphery over near to maybe the servants' quarters or one of the dilapidated buildings at this point that hasn't been opened in many, many years. That's large enough to bring carts through, supplies and things. It's not actually meant to be a secure fence. It does look to be in pretty sorry shape. Especially when you compare to some of the other manors in the city that have nice stone fences, maybe 6 or 7 feet tall, with large
Do
gates.
we have the funding to replace the fence with stone, since we're gonna get a bunch of it anyway?
You can. It's just going to be a big pain in the ass, especially if you're looking to make sure that the wall itself is built for security. Because, I mean, even if you build a stone wall and it's 7 feet high, it's trivial for somebody to just jump over the wall.
Yep, it's got to be built for security.
Easy to climb a stone wall. The difficulty you're going to face is if you build a wall for security, it's going to look like a wall built for security. Like, are we putting like big iron spikes on the top?